Bleecker Park, my favorite place on planet Earth. My favorite park in New York. I just saw Wallace, Shawn, and Deborah of Rifkin's Festival fame. Wallace, Shawn of Rifkin's Festival fame, and Deborah Eisenberg dining al fresco at St. Ambrose on West 4th Street. So if you hurry, you could catch them quickly. I don't mean to blow up their spot. This is the Gawker Stalker. I don't know how many people remember the Gawker Stalker. I love the Gawker Stalker. The Gawker Stalker is what celebrities deserve. This is their, how we exact, balance on celebrities. The Gawker Stalker was basically like a Google map where people reported celebrity sightings in Manhattan mostly. So it'd be like, oh my God, I saw George Clooney at, Soho House or whatever. Or everybody was at Bungalow 8. This was like 2008, 2009. I don't know how many people remember the Gawker Stalker. But I'm Gawker Stalkering Wallace Shawn. Wallace Shawn is dining. He's my hero. I mean, he's a famous Nepo baby. Renowned Nepo baby, Wallace Shawn, whose dad was the editor of The New Yorker. I mean, Wallace Shawn is incredible, but, it probably helps if your dad's the editor of The New Yorker. During kind of its, one of its most illustrious eras, probably, I would say. William Shawn was kind of the steward of The New York, through all the Salinger. I mean, Salinger dedicated fucking, I think Franny and Zooey is dedicated to William Shawn, right? Or is it The Catcher in the Rye? Could you imagine if The Catcher in the Rye was dedicated to you? That's pretty nuts. But anyway, Wallace Shawn's one of my heroes. And Deborah Eisenberg, of course, one of the greatest writers alive. Teaches at Iowa, for Christ's sake. They're dining al fresco at, I just wanted to leave them alone. Celebrities, there's nothing they like more than when you approach them when they're eating. They love that. I've heard that celebrities love it when you approach them awkwardly while they're eating at nice restaurants. That's their favorite thing. So I left them alone. I tried to approach Wallace Shawn at Brooklyn Book Festival in 2017. Because he kind of would be at events at Brooklyn Book Festival, like he did in a talk there with Fran Lebowitz one year. And so I figured, this guy was my hero when my dinner with Andre was like a complete lifeline to me when I lived in Columbus, Ohio. And growing up, being the pretentious little Niles Crane type figure that I am, so my dinner with Andre was like this lifeline. And so meeting Wallace Shawn was always like this crazy dream, or like, meeting your heroes. I don't know if I recommend it, frankly. New York is all about mingling with your heroes. I'm not good at it. I'm terrible at meeting my heroes. I'm the worst. So what happened, I saw somebody approach Wallace Shawn at Brooklyn Book Festival in 2012 or whenever I saw him read, and it looked like it went pretty well. So I was like, oh, okay, he seems approachable. So I figured this was like one of my few chances I'd ever get. I've lived in New York for 14 years. I've probably seen Wallace Shawn on the street or like in person like maybe 4 times. And maybe 5 or 6. So, these chances don't come that often. And I had been eating these weed edibles. I got this weed Rice Krispie from the Secret Loft. Because they used to do this great open mic at Secret Loft. Once a month, they had like a poetry spoken word open mic at Secret Loft when it was on 14th Street, which was an amazing event. And I did it a couple times, and they sold these weed edibles that were Rice Krispie treat, like balls. So I was on a good one with the weed edibles, the Rice Krispie treat balls. And I saw Wallace Shawn at Brooklyn Book Festival. I had a half fucking Rice Krispie edible. And I saw Wallace Shawn, I figured this is my chance.
Although I feel like the participants
I better say something. It was actually a talk that Deborah Eisenberg was giving. Deborah Eisenberg was like on a panel, and I love Deborah Eisenberg. I've read Twilight of the Superheroes. You got to read Twilight of the Superheroes. It's a great 9/11 story. A Cautionary Tale. I mean, Deborah Eisenberg is probably, one of the premier short story writers. But they both kind of have like a cartoonish quality to some degree, which is sort of a New York thing, I guess. But I mean, Wallace Shawn in a certain way was kind of launched by Woody Allen. I mean, Manhattan, that was the first movie he was ever really in as the homunculus sex machine. He's devastating. The women found him devastating. And oh God, he was a genius. So he kind of, maybe that's why he's a Woody Allen apologist. Why he was in Rifkin's Festival, he's paying Woody back. I don't know. They're both, you can see they're from that era where everybody was kind of Wallace Shawn's early plays, The Youth Hostel, it's all sex. It's all sex. I mean, they're horny plays. I don't even see how you could stage it, frankly. There's probably my favorite play is a Wallace Shawn play called Our Late Night. And it's like poetry. I recommend it to everybody. If you haven't read Our Late Night is a fucking masterpiece. And it's interesting to see how Wallace Shawn's career has kind of changed over the decades as a playwright. He kind of went, Our Late Night is very abstract, but there's a violence in it and kind of a weird sickness that the characters don't really know how to explain, which later, Wallace Shawn would kind of write these political plays, The Fever, The Designated Mourner, which kind of like dealt with here comes a golf bag. Here come some golf clubs. Golf clubs are taking over Manhattan, everybody. See, I called it. I was talking about this 2 years ago. It's over. Manhattan is a golf course. It's an island fortress for the rich. It's just Fortune 500 finance douchebags and Wallace Shawn. It's Rifkin's Festival here, everybody. Here in Bleecker Park. It's Rifkin's Festival. If you're just tuning in, we're Gawker stalkering Wallace Shawn and Deborah Eisenberg. Deborah Eisenberg's shit is super political stuff. They would go on like these vacations to like Central America, islands in the Caribbean. The Hotel play, if you've never read the Hotel play, it's amazing. It's a Wallace Shawn play with like 50 characters. It's unbelievable. But his early stuff is like poetry. It's just wild and abstract and like super, but it's like kind of mysterious. It's enigmatic. I don't even think he knew what he was saying. It was just like he trusted the kind of like somnambulistic kind of like speaking in tongues. He kind of trusted like the abstract kind of weird parts of the language, which I like. His later plays are very political and very direct. He's trying to wake the audience up and get people thinking and aware of what's going on around us. What the United States government does, the CIA, all that kind of stuff. Putting people to sleep. My Dinner with Andre is all about how everybody's asleep because of the war machine, basically. The military-industrial complex. They want people who are complacent. They want people who don't say no. They want people who just go with the flow. So that's one of America's most important playwrights. In addition to being a Pixar Toy Story, he's Rex in Toy Story, of course. But I wanted to walk by him and just say, yo, I loved Rifkin's Festival. Rifkin's Festival was great, Wally. Thumbs up, 4 stars. A meditation on aging. But anyway, so I ate half a Rice Krispie edible at the Brooklyn Book Festival in 2017. And so Deborah Eisenberg was on a panel, and the panel had just ended. It was on the steps of the Borough Hall, the courthouse in Brooklyn. This is where they do the Brooklyn Festival, in that, the book festival, in that like plaza of like the city hall and all these government buildings and shit. Judicial buildings. So we're on the steps of this judicial building, the seat of power. There's Deborah Eisenberg, Wallace Shawn, two of the greatest writers in the American vernacular, and pop star, celebrity, New Yorker kind of, they've got the career anybody would want. Wallace Shawn was totally like the career that I wanted. It's like he's like this actor, he's in cool movies, The Princess Bride, The Moderns. He's like the go-to intellectual. To to be honest, his position as an actor is well deserved because he really is identifiable. As soon as you see him, you think New York egghead intellectual, snob. He just gives off that, even though he's a very friendly person, seemingly, and very approachable, even though, okay, so when I tried to approach him at the Brooklyn Book Festival, I had taken half a Rice Krispie treat, so I was feeling reckless, and I thought, I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to let this slip through my fingers again. I'm going to carpe the diem, and I'm going to approach. I'm going to get over my approach anxiety, and I'm going to enter the set with Wally and Deborah Eisenberg. And so the talk had just broke, and Wallace Shawn was like sitting on the steps near me. So I had sort of been clocking him. I had seen him. I knew where he was. So I was like going to kind of intercept him. It was all just poorly thought out. It was poorly thought out. It was poorly executed. It was contrived and weird. I was weird. I mean, I'm sure I looked really high. Being on like a Rice Krispie edible, I'm sure I just looked like delirious and deranged, and so it was almost like it was like the Zapruder film or something. It was like the JFK assassin. What happened that day in Dealey Plaza and Cadman Plaza? I'm fucking there. There's Wallace Shawn. There's Deborah Eisenberg. So Wally, is walking over to the thing had just broken. He's walking over to her. I think he had just said hi to her or something, and I think maybe I tapped him on the shoulder. And I think I put my hand out and I said something about how I loved all his work. I loved his films and I loved his plays. And you could tell he shriveled. He shriveled away. He really looked irritated. He really looked like this is not the time or the place. And he was kind of nice about it, but he looked, it just looked like he was in pain. He was like, oh, thank you, thank you. Deborah Eisenberg looked horrified. She shot me the dirtiest look you could possibly imagine. This is my history with the greatest writers in the English language. This is what I have to show for my life, my time in New York. I have countless run-ins with my heroes and just like, the masters. The master, I don't know, at least like the lions of the New York kind of like media fucking horror-scape, I guess. Does that really matter? I mean, this is what we're trying to disprove with the open mic. It's just like everybody matters, god damn it. Not just these big names, not just the Gawker Stalker celebrities, not just the Clooneys and the Wallace Shawns and the Tara Reeds and the Martha Plimpton. Martha Plimpton was on Gawker Stalker constantly. She was always making out with Fred Armisen. There was a lot of Martha Plimpton. Fred Armisen clearly had a type because once he and Martha Plimpton broke up, like she was in plays and shit. I think she dated Kieran Culkin, or like they were in Suburbia together at Lincoln Center and shit. Back when these things mattered. None of these things matter anymore, I don't think. This is what I'm discovering, is like the whole world is the stage. To use the oldest cliche in the fucking book, like that's kind of true now. It's truer now than ever. Like today, I was trying to do an open mic, and I've been, I did this open mic yesterday at St. Mark's Comedy Club. It did not go well. Not only did I bomb, but it felt like the audience, hated me and wanted to destroy me. It seemed like they personally, they despised me. They thought I was, disgusting, offensive. And so that's not a good time. The thing with doing the open mics is you get super nervous because there's people watching. And so it gets hard when people aren't laughing. And well, here's the other thing though, is comedy, a lot of it depends on what your audience is, in what room you're in. I mean, I think that matters a lot to an artist and to an entertainer, is there's some concept we're supposed to have some kind of broad commercial appeal, everybody's supposed to like what we're doing, it's supposed to work everywhere. Maybe that's a best case scenario. I would love that. I always thought people were gonna love everything that I did. I always thought this. I am completely baffled at my reception as an adult and how nobody likes anything I do. I mean, maybe this is a product of like being a snowflake and a participation trophy kid or a gold star kid or a gifted kid or whatever. But I definitely thought I was going to get a lot better response and I was going to be popular. I thought people were going to like what I do, at least on stage. You know, I'm not doing this to toot my own horn. I'm merely discussing the issue. You know, people always mention how good my stage presence is. That's one thing. The audience doesn't necessarily like. They don't necessarily like love me. I don't know. It's like at these comedy shows. It's like I think in a certain way, this culture of stand-up comedy is like what I'm at war against. Because it does feel right-wing and like logical minded or something and like lowest common denominator in a way that's not good. I mean, it's sort of an intellectual form in that it's like a public discourse, but like, I mean, especially, you know, obviously these are open mics in Manhattan. It's a certain culture. They're looking for a certain type of comedian. They're looking for setup, punchline, and you have to somehow figure out, well, all you have to do is figure out how to make people laugh, I guess. Which, to be honest, I don't know. It is easier said than done. It is like playing music in front of people, I guess, in a way. It's like it's kind of hard to make the magic happen sometimes. Sometimes, especially when you're nervous, you know, it's like you start to feel conscientious about, oh, I'm not being entertaining, or to be honest, I don't even want to be funny. I'm going into a context that kind of requires that. I'm sort of perfectly comfortable with going on stage and just sort of talking for 5 minutes. But it does feel like, I don't know if this is like group mentality, being in front of an audience. It does feel like why is that the goal? I don't know. I mean, I know, you know, like, to me, the truth is what's funny, right? So my goal is to get up and say something truthful, and hopefully it makes everybody laugh somehow. Or I'm also trying to improvise and discover things on stage, which is not easy to do, as I'm finding out. And as I've been trying to do this for almost a decade, and it hasn't really worked yet. So I don't know why I keep trying. But it's sort of like a Valhalla or a Golden City or a Mirage or something. I'm fine with just getting up on stage and talking, and so that's sort of what I've been doing at these open mics, and that's why the audience like hates me, or like they really give you the impression when you bomb. It's just different when you bomb doing comedy. It's hard not to take it personally. Everybody thinks of themselves as funny or something. But anyway, I don't know that it's necessary to do... The open mics are useful, I think, for meeting other people and like getting your face out there and just getting practice, obviously. But one thing that I don't understand about comedy is like the culture is like hostile to the people on stage. That's what I mean, I think it's because so many people are trying to do it. Well, this is where stand-up comedy is right now, and I feel like it is like the Roganification and the roastification. You know, it's all these people are into MMA and shit, and like the mentality is like, let's all be Anthony Jeselnik, and let's all just like rip each other to fucking pieces. But it's not even like to be funny. It's just like, wow, that guy sucked. Or like, you know, for me, it's like I get up and I try stuff that's kind of weird. Like, and my vibe is weird because I smoke weed all the time. Like, I am probably like this dweeby little pothead weirdo that I'm like Pigpen or something from the fucking Peanuts. Like, certain people like me, and then a lot of people are, I'm repugnant to them for some reason. Because my energy, like I ate half like Wallace Shawn. You know, I ate half a fucking weed brownie. He didn't vibe with me. He wasn't on that wavelength. He wasn't on the edible vibe at that point in time. So he kind of recoiled in horror. In defense, it was like a defensive position. And, you know, being high, it does kind of decalibrate you or miscalibrate you, or you're calibrated differently than everybody else. I think that was Bowen Yang. I think Bowen Yang just walked by. Was that Bone Yang? We'll have to rewind it. He looked back over his shoulder. Is that racist? Maybe that was racist, what I just said. Forget I said that. It's just like these people just tear into you. So a lot of these sets, it reminds me of the time I saw The Ultimate Warrior live. I saw The Ultimate Warrior give a speech at Ohio University when I was 19 in 2004. He was a super gun nut. So his speech, it was all about gun rights and how he loved guns and how everybody should, and it was all about the Second Amendment and shit. Even though I went because he was a fucking pro wrestler, and you know, it's weird, this like college circuit of like has-beens from your youth, how they like show up on your campus to like give their weird little talks about whatever their niche, you know, like the dude was there to visit like the OU like gun club and like, you know, make friends with them and sort of, you know, spend some quality time with these young men and sort of mold them, you know, and teach them and give this talk. And so like the beginning of it, there was like wrestling footage, you know, from like, with like his theme song from the 80s and, you know, him pinning Hulk Hogan and fucking all this shit. And then he comes out and he's just this fucking douchebag, but he's, you know, he's roided out. He's huge. He's ripping out of this suit. But he's wearing like this fucking like super Italian. People are looking at me. I guess this is insane. I just wanted to be live from the streets. So the Ultimate Warrior, and then he just proceeded to talk about guns and the Second Amendment for 2 hours. And so there was this guy in the Q&A afterwards who was like a hippie. And I forget what he asked, but he asked something about, you know, how guns kill people and shootings and this and that. And the Ultimate Warrior just ripped into this guy. He goes, "Where the fuck did you hear that? Where'd you hear that? That's hippie bullshit. That's fucking hippie bullshit." And this guy's like, I read it. And it's like, I feel like that guy every time I do stand-up comedy, and the other comedians are all like the Ultimate Warrior. It's like, I'll get up and I'll say something weird about my life because my whole act is just like personal disclosure and like the exact details of like my private life, which is like not really what comedians are supposed to do. You're supposed to like not really talk. Like I read this quote because all this Louis shit has been popping up in the algorithm for me for some reason. And it's like, he doesn't talk about none of it is true or something. He says he doesn't talk about his life at all or something on stage. It's like, that's all I do. All I do is talk about what actually happens to me because it's funny to me. And then nobody else finds it funny. It's like a private joke I have. My life is the joke. And the stand-up is like also part of the pathetic joke. I like that kind of humor. I like sad, like what's that movie that Frank Whaley made, Joe the King or whatever, about a comedian who's just like fucking terrible and depressing. I kind of like that better. I hate the comedians who other people laugh at, to be honest. Most of them, some of them are good, but almost all the comedians in these like kind of touristy Manhattan clubs, they're all just trying to be, they're vicious. They want to weed you out. They want to attack you. And like a certain amount of that is funny. I understand like the roasting culture, like, you know, it's nothing new. Insult comedy is nothing new. It's just not my thing. I don't really like that. I don't try to insult people. So it's like weird trying to acclimate that. I mean, like I said, poetry world doesn't have any of that. You know, like no matter how bad your poem is, no one really is going to go up and like just talk about how shitty and weird it was, you know, like I guess unless it's offensive or something. But like at comedy, it's like that happens every time I go up. One of the you know, all the other comedians just talk about. So anyway, I was trying to do one of these fucking open mics today on McDougal or Bleecker, like Grizzly Pear. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I am new to it, and to go to those places, I mean, people are serious about it, and that is their way of like policing it and kind of like making sure you're like gonna bring it, and like you know, you either succeed or you don't. You know, it's like But it does seem like a part of the process. I mean, like, my brother drummed on this fucking comedy show at the Improv in LA that a lot of, like, famous people were on. Fucking Kevin Pollak and David Spade and a lot of T.J. Miller. And a lot of those people bombed. And a lot of them got hostile with the audience. They turn on the audience. It's not pretty. So I don't know, the culture of it, in a certain way, I'm obviously in the wrong rooms, but I'm also trying to influence the culture of what they're doing, because, like, I just don't think it's that interesting. I don't know, maybe the audience does, I guess. Maybe I was in the minority, but to be honest, it's a room full of other comedians. So if you go in there and you're doing something different or really off, especially if you're not trying to be funny, which, like, I do try to disclaimer my act every time by just being like, this probably won't be funny. So yesterday at St. Mark's Comedy Club, I started out, so I went to this open mic because I thought Matthew Silver hosted it, because he did host it. I don't know if, it was, the guy who hosted it was great, Josh DeLeon, shout out to Josh DeLeon. He's super funny. He's a great comedian, super cool guy, super nice. He did a great job. But, like, it's different when Matthew Silver hosts it, obviously. He's a unique personality, and once again, but it's like he's found his audience. You know what I mean? If Matthew Silver, if people didn't know who he was, I don't know, and he went to these open mics, would they feel the same way? I don't know. They would. I mean, he's an amazing artist and entertainer, like, don't get me wrong, like, he's going to connect with anybody, but at the same time, it's like, it is different than, like, the typical culture of these 2-drink minimum type places where they're selling, first of all, these comedy shows are ridiculously expensive. $20 a ticket plus a 2-drink minimum, like, you're not even funny. No offense to the comedians I know, because a lot of them are great at what they do, but what they do is not exactly be funny. And I think that's okay. I don't think it's about being funny, and I don't think it should be about being funny. It should be about just, it's obviously some kind of, like, rhetorical argument thing at this point. It's, what it feels like at these clubs is, it's like there's these joke forms that just keep getting repeated, and I lost my viewers. Is it because I'm talking about comedy? Do I harp on this? I guess this is like, well, this was my most recent experience, so. Did they get mad because I was talking shit about comedy? Is this because I said, first, I mean, $20 a ticket? That's insane. I mean, that's insane, right? I mean, I wish every concert should be $20. It should be $20 to go to fucking Madison Square Garden, to be honest. I guess there's too many people, not enough souls, as the Persian poet says. This is what I mean. Well, it's like the performance is just spilling over everywhere. The audience is just spilling over everywhere, I like doing venues. I like doing clubs because it has a certain kind of... Sorry, I have no money. Sorry. It has a certain kind of legacy media kind of fetish value. I think that's like every aspect of our societies. We're just like outgrowing this stuff. But IRL is like, if you chip away at it, it is like how you find an audience. Like you meet 1 or 2 people at every open mic. Hopefully they book you on a show. Get in front of more people. Did I offend the comedians? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk shit about. Like I said, they're great at what they do. I love hearing what all the comedians I know have to say. I think they're very smart, and the way that they structure what they're doing is smart and interesting. Honestly, it's just like poetry, the way they craft their jokes, because it's very precise rhythm, economy of language, and you have to have the right word to make it work. the best words in the best order. But I don't think, I think when people laugh in person, a lot of it is because they've been primed for that. When I went and saw Letterman, right, in 2009, I think, they hyped the audience so goddamn much. When we were outside, before we even got in the theater, they told us, when you go in there, you need to laugh like this is the funniest thing you've ever seen in your life. However funny you think a joke is, laugh 10 times louder. Like, you need to laugh at every fucking... This is what they told us before we even went in, right? This is Letterman, right? He's been on the fucking air for 30 years at this point. Then they told us again, when we went in, we got seated, the warm-up comedian said the same shit. You need to laugh like this is the funniest thing you've ever fucking seen. We need big laughs. We need you to make a lot of noise. You know, this is one reason, like, if you watch the Easy Paradise open mic on YouTube, I film it with this little camcorder, and a lot of times, like, you hear my dumbass laugh. I hate my laugh. And to be honest, I'm laughing at a lot of shit that I don't think is funny. But by verbalizing this shit, this is how we ping off each other, right? This is why we go out and do things in person. This is why we perform in real life and not just on the internet. This is why we go and do these gigs and these shows, which we live and we love to do, is because, like, we want to be with each other. We want to breathe together and respond with each other. And so guiding a group dynamic into that is the job of the people hosting the fucking show and the people running the show. It's their job to make the audience and to condition them to whatever fucking group response it is they're trying to get. And with comedy, right, it's laughing. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing to you know, I know when I'm on stage and I hear even one fucking person laugh, it gives me confidence to keep going. Now, that's not what a comedian shouldn't get in the trap of relying on that. They should just power through. You should self-amuse. But when I do that, the other comedians make fun of me. They say, oh, look, that guy was really amused by that thing no one was laughing at. But that's what you need to do. You need to draw energy from within. But when one person laughs in the audience, it helps. You know, it gives you the confidence to be like, oh, now maybe I go in the next thing with a little bit more confidence in it or whatever. That kind of shit matters, you know? So, I mean, with open mics especially, it's like we're trying to just have a great time, you know? So being loud, clapping, be enthusiastic, it's what we're here for. We're here to get the endorphins going, the serotonin, the positive chemicals, not the negative ones. Everybody's see, the thing with live performance is that nerves can take over, right? The audience is nervous, the performer's nervous. So if that energy takes over, then it can, you know, it can make it awkward. That's what happens when people bomb, right? It's like the nervous energy, the hostility, the awkwardness, the self-doubt, the insecurity takes over and the person just implodes. A lot of comedians will get off stage way before their time is up. They'll just say, that's all I have to say. Thanks a lot. Or they'll run off stage. I feel that way too. Practically every time I do a set, I feel like running out of the club because I'm just like embarrassed. Yesterday I said, I'm experimenting. Okay, so I started out with, I know I'm all over the place. I'm always all over the place. I started off by reading a poem about, because like I said, Matthew Silver was supposed to host this open mic, or I thought he was going to host it. Not like he was supposed to be there. He normally hosts it. But instead, it was kind of like a normal comedy open mic, which is great. And I love, you know, I just like doing these clubs. To me, it's just a kick to go up at St. Mark's Comedy Club. They got a fucking brick wall. Like, I know I'll look back on this fondly. I'll forget that I bombed, and I'll laugh about it. I'll laugh about how bad I sucked at it. Because that's what comedy is, right? It's tragedy plus time. So I read my poem from my new book. I should plug my new book, Central Park, right? New from Columbia University Press, and a subsidiary of Rockcore International. Columbia University Press, a subsidiary of Rockcore International. So let me read this poem to you. It's a 420 poem. This is how I started my comedy set. 420, Link Ray. And so my thinking with this was like, you know, I don't even know what the fuck my thinking was. It was stupid. I should have just got up and did material. I thought, I don't even know what the fuck I was thinking. I thought, this is something I've wanted to try. I've never done this before at a comedy show where I've read a poem and then used the poem as sort of like the set list for what I would talk about. Because a lot of what the trouble I get in when I go to comedy open mics is, what am I going to talk about on stage? When the other comedians are going up and people are laughing and they have this tight material and you can tell they feel super happy about themselves, and you know, everybody's telling these very punchy setup punchline, and they're, you know, a lot of it is just cliches and stereotypes and dumb fucking humor, potty humor, racial humor, stupid shit that I hate, frankly. And then, so I'm just thinking in my head, just like, what the fuck am I going to say? What am I going to do? I've got nothing planned. You know, my set is not going to be tight at all. It'll be a miracle if it's funny. If, you know, because with comedy, it feels like you're spending money every word. And you need to get something, you need to get laughs back, or else you feel it sink real fast. Which sucks. I don't like that. I think we need to create a public audience and like a public performance space where people can just talk, and it shouldn't have to be. This is part of why I love when people like read notes at the open mic, read off their like little notes that they've written. I like that. I like when people just sort of talk about nothing, or I don't know, just tone it down. The thing that annoys me about comedy is the form is just so old-fashioned and just not funny, frankly. And just offensive. And so anyway, okay. I'm thinking in my head, what am I going to do? So I was like, let me read a poem that'll burn a minute, and then I'll leap off. And it takes place at St. Mark's Comedy Club. So this is part of the reason why I went there, because I had such a good time at the Other Side of Comedy show when I did it on 420. That like I just wanted to go back and sort of like try to recapture all that magic, and I bombed, and it was great. I loved it. So okay, I read this 420 poem, Link Ray. This is how he started. Link Ray. Sarah Silverman gave Brian Fernandez her joint last night, passing in front of St. Mark's Comedy Club with Todd Barry before the Other Side of Comedy show, which I performed on. Janine Garofalo had passed by earlier, as Brian had been stationed out front barking. I became a cost center. Nobody wants to talk about it. I wasn't earning enough money. People wanted me to leave. My comedy sets are only funny later, privately, to myself, like all tragedy plus time. Charges have been dropped. One of the olds in the Final Fantasy VII sound font. So the first half of this, I like this poem because it does something that I don't typically do. The first half of it is sort of a coherent scene and passage that is almost an entire paragraph in it, but it catalogs a lot of these characters and this night in a way that I just really, wanted to include in the book. Sarah Silverman gave Brian Fernandez. So this is a true story. We smoked a joint, and this is the torch of the gods, is the point of this poem, right? This is the Promethean fire, is what I'm saying. This is the lineage, is what I'm saying. This is not just arbitrary. I'm saying this happened. This is real life. I didn't expect this to happen watching Comedy Central in the 90s when I was a child, right? So to be connected to these people in any way, especially through the comedy world and doing comedy. So it's about barking, right? Brian Fernandez, who I love, who's a great comedian, great artist and performer, was out front barking, which you all know is like the most thankless, worst job in the world. Hey, comedy show. And so, of course, Sarah Silverman, I think, has done this. I think I heard an interview where she was talking about how she did this, right? When she was at the Comedy Cellar or whatever. And so I'm sure that they feel for these people. I'm sure that they are with, the Barkers. When Sarah Silverman and all these comedians, Todd Barry, Janine Garofalo, walk by, and this is one of the things that's fun about living in downtown Manhattan, or being in downtown Manhattan, is like, once again, Wallace, Shawn, and Deborah Eisenberg. I saw Adrian Brody the other day, mingling with the Giants, walking with the Giants, right? I mean, I've been exiled to Midwood, but I'm still walking with the Giants here. They cannot get me away. This is what I do every day. I have to myself, I'm coming here because this is my happy place, everybody. Right here. That's why I'm here. This is my happy place. Okay? This is why I do this, because it's my happy place. Even though it's totally solipsistic and probably really bad for me and a kind of weird self-therapy and self-medication, it's my happy place. My live stream and this sort of... I wish the comedy world accepted me. Why is it so hostile is what I'm saying. Why are these open mics... To be honest, comedy is the Fox News of poetry. It's Fox News in these fucking clubs, man. There's a reason why Sherrod Small is on fucking Bill O'Reilly or whatever. It's like these comedians it's right wing. It's UFC in this motherfucking club. It's not a nurturing, which I don't get at all. To me, it's still a show. Like, let's enjoy. I guess they try to be tough on each other to make each other hard for the real shows. It's all about being a warrior. If you're a comedian, you're a warrior, and you're a fucking samurai, and you're walking the fucking path, okay? And nothing will stop you. You got to do your 10,000 hours. It just doesn't seem worth it. Getting up in these clubs and having other people just like judge you seems it seems personal in a way that the other art forms do not seem personal. Like, you feel like just like a reviling person. You have to just run out of the club just like in disgrace, like you're run out of town. Like because you just were so offensive and vile. So yeah, Sarah Silverman, right? Todd Barry, Janine Garofalo. I'm trying to posit sort of a poetics here of comedy. These are comedians. I mean, I don't necessarily love Sarah Silverman. She's very like body humor and shit. She's cool. I mean, she was groundbreaking, and obviously she's amazing. But like, I like Laura Silverman from Dr. Katz. Sarah Silverman's great and everything, but it's all about like pissing the bed and shit like that. It's like, I don't know. It's not. That's comedy energy. It's like wetting the bed. That's like comedy energy. That's like, I don't know. I don't know if I have that energy. I don't have that energy. Maybe I belong in. Maybe I was right. Maybe I am a poet. Fuck. I'm fucked. I'll never be playing Madison. No, I'm gonna play Madison Square Garden. God damn it. I will play Madison Square Garden. I'm gonna do my fucking poetry slam. I'm going to do my stand-up poetry at Madison Square Garden, like I did at St. Mark's Comedy Club, and just bombed. I splatted into the brick wall. I went splat into the brick wall behind me. So Brian Fernandez, Sarah Silverman gave Brian Fernandez her joint last night, passing in front of St. Mark's Comedy Club. St. Mark's was my gateway to New York and to life, really. St. Mark's was the first place in New York that really felt magical to me. And so the fact that it's St. Mark's Comedy Club is significant. And it was a special place. That the fact that they even let Matthew Silver do these shows there was incredible, because they were amazing shows. I didn't do the most interesting performance I ever did, but it was still, I'm figuring out what I want to do and how I want to do this. I don't know. I guess I should just do what the fuck I believe in, and not try to fit in with what the fuck this lame shit is. But you're going into their turf. That's what's weird about it. And I'm new to it too. It's not like I have 8 years or 10 years experience like I do with poetry. It's like poetry I have been doing for a long time. So for whatever, there is some integrity to what I'm doing, and some body, if for nothing else than just like the sheer repetition of it. But so I told this story about Todd. My whole set was about Todd Barry. Nobody really thought it was funny. It was, to me, the idea, right, that this girl that I was sort of like involved with had dated Todd Barry was funny. That in and of itself is funny. The fact that she dated Todd Barry and was like a character on Louis is funny. The audience wasn't laughing. But that's what this poem is about, right? About how I'm not funny. Or I am funny, but not at comedy shows. Not when I'm doing when I'm doing comedy, I'm not funny. You have to watch my live stream and then sometimes it's funny. Oh, somebody just left. Okay, so anyway, later in the poem, right? My comedy sets are only funny later privately to myself, like all tragedy plus time. So this is like, you know, it's just a joke that I'm even doing this, I guess. The fact that I'm, you know, almost 40 and trying to attempt this like pivot to comedy, it's not really a pivot. It's not like I'm abandoning anything. It's just like, you know, I already do everything and people find it obnoxious. I already do video and music and poetry and, you know, and what am I leaving out? Performance art, and I make books and I draw, and not only that, but now I'm going to do stand-up comedy. I don't know. It's just, it's something that I'm playing with and trying. And so this is my poetic observation. Like what Mel Brooks or some famous comedian said, or, you know, it's like a famous quote, comedy is tragedy plus time. Meaning a lot of times the things that are funniest are like the things that are saddest. It's like, I don't know why that is. That's a way of dealing with trauma, right? This is one reason why comedy is at this weird place in culture right now, because I guess it's a place we go to process trauma, and maybe it's not the healthiest way to process trauma. I don't know. Laughter is the best medicine. You know, I think of Ram Dass, right? If you watch Ram Dass, the motherfucker is always laughing. He's always smiling and laughing, which to me, smiling is like the defense mechanism against like the assailing kind of forces of life, and like the slings and arrows that are constantly being thrown at you. I know for me, I kind of smile obnoxiously, particularly in conversation. And it's a way of sort of fighting insecurity and fighting insult and fighting injury and fighting, you know, self-doubt. It's just keep smiling, keep that positive energy going up, up, up. Keep that positivity, keep that light, keep that energy going up and out. And maybe that is why all the sad clowns kill themselves. The Pagliaccis, the Pierrot figures, the Robin Williamses, right? The Chris Farleys, the John Belushis. You see the pictures of them, they're all smiling. The Jokers, right? The Joker smiles because he's sad. The Joker smiles to keep from killing himself. He smiles to keep from crying, right? I guess that's what that means to me, is tragedy plus time equals funny. I don't know. Is it's funny to me that it's all funny. My whole life is funny because I can't win. I mean, I think humor is one of the ways that we just process the inevitable mishaps and miscues and near misses of life, disappointments, you know, pain. Humor is the way that we. It's just to be honest, it's a spontaneous knee-jerk response. It's not voluntary, really. It is a survival mechanism in that regard. But is it healthy to laugh and to joke about everything? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's a coping mechanism. You know, my comedy sets are sad. I don't think that's a bad thing. To me, like I was saying at Soho Playhouse the other day, to me it's like blues, right? I get up and I do a blues. You know, it's not necessarily a funny, but it is funny to me later. Later, I will think about it and I'll be like, oh, it's really funny that I talked about Treat Williams on stage, or, you know, that I did this Charles Grodin impression, or my Jim Belushi impression, right? My Jim Belushi impression is funny to me. Nobody else really might. Nobody else even knows what the fuck it is. Maybe I'll bring back the Clifford impression, the Grodin impression. I haven't done that in a while. I've been staying away from impressions. I've been trying to just figure out how to talk on stage. The impressions just seem easy, and I'm not even good at it. I just get up on stage and do these terrible impressions. It's performance art, everybody. I mean, that's the old saw. It's performance art. That old saw. This is what I do, right? It's verbal art, but it's not necessarily comedy. It's not. Where do I go to do this? Okay, I'm not Alex Edelman or whatever the fuck that guy is. To be honest, that shit looks stupid. I saw a clip from it. It looks hacky, garbage. They should have, this Monday's open mic is a tribute to Spalding Gray, my hero, one of my other heroes, Spalding Gray, a monologuist who I'm sure was a huge influence on Wallace Shawn. You can see Wallace Shawn's plays move toward monologue. And My Dinner with Andre being sort of a long... Somebody said that it was Andre Gregory's personal Spalding Gray monologue, which kind of true, actually. It's almost like taking a Spalding Gray monologue and splicing it up into this other conceit. This dinner. But, Spalding Gray was not a comedian. And he wasn't really the word monologuist, I don't know. I think there is verbal art. I read this term yesterday called disuse. It's French. Naturally. The French have a word for it. Naturally, of course. Disuse, which means a talker. I mean, it's actually female. The word is referring specifically to a female that does this, like chanteuse. Chanteuse being a female singer, right? So a disuse, being a cabaret performer, I suppose, is probably where this came from. Like chanteuse, I'm assuming. But disuse being a talker. Not necessarily a storyteller, not necessarily a monologuist, not necessarily a soliloquizer, per se. Although you could just call it that, I guess. This is my soliloquy of a summer's night here in the grotto of the Westville. We're at the corner of West 11th and Bleecker. There's Bank Street. We're between Bank and West 11th. It's my happy place, everybody. Welcome to my happy place. Trying to put out positive vibes and laughter. We need laughter, right? It's medicine. It's part of the buoyancy, right? It's part of the ballast of life. It's the lung. It's the water lung. It's what keeps the submarine from. It's how we get back to the surface. Those heroes on the Titan. Let's have a moment of silence for the heroes on the Titan. No, we talked about that last week. Okay, so I shouldn't talk about comedy the whole fucking time because I don't know. It just seems like it's all I talk about probably. Well, I guess I could talk about, I don't know. I don't want to... I've been in poetry school, but kind of in a different way. It's weird because there are these, in this book, in my new book, Central Park, which drops Monday. I think, I don't know. When am I going to do the launch? Should I do it Monday? I drew these real fast in my small notebook, these drawings. And I scanned them in with my phone on the tiny scanner. See, that's one of them. There's the System Lord flyer, which people did not like. I drew it in 5 seconds, so there's a picture of the Guggenheim that I haven't used for anything yet, but I'm going to use it for some kind of flyer. See, I'm really a cartoonist. when it comes down to it. It's the poetry project. And then here's the cover of the book. So that's how the magic happens, everybody. People like my drawings better than anything else I do. I mean, Ashley deeply offended me by... She wanted to solicit a drawing for her new zine, but not one of my poems. At least that's how it came out. Maybe she didn't mean it that way, but that's how it came out. Which, you know, people like... I don't know. Maybe they don't like my drawings. It's like... Part of it is like we should do art for art's sake. Or art for our own sake. Art for life's sake. You know, we need to create that energy. We need that energy to push out. We need to push those vibrations out into the world. You know, whether or not we're masters, it's like, you know, everyone's a beginner at the beginning. So I've been... Well, part of what I need to get into is get into outdoor performance, right? We're kind of behind on that. And so part of the realization I'm coming to is, well, you know, I love doing these open mics, and, you know, I keep this calendar where I mark down, like, you know, every time I do a live show, and that's kind of my number one priority. I would like to do 15 shows a month. This month I did 11, not counting live streams. I did 13 or maybe more, 14 if you count live streams, which I don't, but I should. But this is the point of what I'm saying is, like, going to these open mics feels like the thing that you're confronting that's like hard. Like, this doesn't feel like facing your fear in quite the same way, or breaking out of your comfort zone in quite the same way. Although this is, you know, not easy to talk for 2 hours, and this is an important part of my practice, and I do need to, like, work on this and keep this up, because, like, this is an important way to stay connected to the audience, and it's an outreach, and it's a poetry exploration and form. These are poems. I do consider these poems. I know that sounds insanely pretentious, but these are definitely poems, as far as I'm concerned. And in a certain sense, these are my true works. I would like to do this on stage. This is my dream. If I could do this 2 hours a night on stage, just improvise, sort of a talk about whatever, that's my dream. I'd like to tour that. But, you know, the culture that we're in, you need to compress things into, like, this group think. And I don't like that. I don't like that the audience is molded into this, like, hypnosis. That's how you accrue, you know, money, is by getting thousands of people to pay for your fucking thing, and that means you're a genius or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. I wonder why I don't connect with people. Maybe it's because I'm lazy and undisciplined, but I also think, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn or anything, but, like, my interests are definitely different, and, like, my sensibility is definitely different. Like, I like Ishtar, for Christ's sake. I like the B-sides and the outtakes and the demos of anything. I like the stuff that everybody... Like, I like Metal Machine music. I like... Take No Prisoners. I think Take No Prisoners is, like, the greatest album ever made. And everything I do is, like, trying to do Take No Prisoners, frankly. The Lou Reed comedy album. Maybe that's what my act should be. I should just do Take No Prisoners. That's one method, the Take No Prisoners method. But is it worth it to pay to do these fucking comedy open mics where people are just going to tear into you? It's like, now that it's nice outside, well, I mean, now we've got this smoke thing, right? It's dangerous air to breathe because of the fucking Canadian wildfire smoke all around us, in the whole fucking United States. I mean, it's not just here. It's Ohio, it's everywhere. In the home front. Maybe I should, let me try to get a different angle here. Just shake it up a little bit. I want more of that street in there. But, you know, I mean, outdoor or, you know, online, the audience is kind of everywhere. It's fluid, it's liquid, it's worldwide, right? I mean, people from the open mic have been traveling. I hope that they're out there watching. I don't know. I don't know who. I know that people do watch this. People do mention it to me, which I appreciate. Thank you for watching. I definitely appreciate it. This, you know, with the open mic, what I do is so sliced up, and I try to not take up too much of the time. I try to just like give as much of the stage to other people and to the beautiful artists and the vox populi and the, you know, the body politic. I mean, that's what's special about it, you know, is it's non-hierarchical, it's equal, and it's open source, really. With, you know, with a few sort of like governing under algorithm. There's an algorithm. But the algorithm is that women and marginalized people, for lack of a better word, get priority. That's the algorithm. Unfortunately, white guys like me. I heard somebody on McDougal Street say, let's say literally an exact quote. I overheard this on McDougal Street today. This girl said to this dude she was with, Mindy Kaling is a white man loving bitch. Mindy Kaling is a white man loving bitch. And I thought, oh my God, we're fucked. They hate us. They fucking hate us. They really hate us. They're gonna kill us. I mean, they're gonna make our lives miserable. Not that there is a they. There shouldn't be a they. They're othering me. Mindy Kaling is a white man loving bitch. Yeah, fuck Mindy Kaling. I agree. The white man loving bitch. She's a cracker loving bitch. Sorry, pardon my French. You know, in comedy world, you can say any goddamn thing, and people are just horrified. And I don't know, but it's. I heard this thing Quentin Crisp said the other day about the First Amendment and how, you know, oh, you can say anything you want. And he's like, well, maybe he said he didn't think people should say anything they want. He said, you know, it's good to not say everything. You know, it's good to like choose what you say and think about what you say. I think there's some truth to that. I was watching this Kid Rock video today. What was it? Something offensive. I can't remember. That dude needs to shut the fuck up, for instance. He's my for instance of the First Amendment going too far. Just like the Second Amendment going too far. Something about fuck Fauci, his video. Fuck Fauci. He's literally in his music video. It's like a parody. It's hilarious. I'm going to do it at System Lord tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be Kid Rock 4th of July. Kid Rock Garth Brooks cookout with System Lord. Ball with the ball, bang it bang. Something about not as pretty as Brad Pitt, but I sling more cock or something. I sling more dick. We're out here slinging dick. So yeah, I mean, I've been talking about doing stuff outdoors. This week has been the first week I've sort of had a minute to sort of like even, you know, kind of jostle around by myself. And, you know, I was kind of trying to, I just wanted to get back to my happy little place, and I was trying to do these open mics down here. But it's like, you know, when I was doing the outdoor events before, I had that Bluetooth PA with the microphone. That thing broke. That Angel device, that thing was a blessed machine. Well, to be honest, that was a big reason why System Lord went on hiatus, because my fucking Bluetooth thing broke. That was my whole instrument in System Lord. That was my cello. That was my viola, and it just went kaput. I mean, I played the fucker hard. I played the fuck out of that thing. So tomorrow, I've got this little Bluetooth thing. But I need to get a new PA to do these outdoor events. You know, like, okay, so this thing at Young Ethel's tomorrow, people should come out. You know, I like kind of doing these instant shows. I mean, obviously I'm very lazy, and I apologize to everybody who tries to DM me or text me, because I'm the worst. I'm really bad at texting and DMing. I know it. I'm trying to do a little better. But I don't want to be buried in my phone either, and like, I don't want to be on it all the fucking time. Other than checking my Instagram or live streaming. Or listening to Grateful Dead YouTube videos. But I don't want to be on my phone all the time, texting or messaging. There's consequences with that stuff. You know, you offend people. I do want to just say that Instagram, I do think, like, is a poison, and like it creates a lot of problems that aren't there. You know, if people don't look at your story, or they don't like your post, or this or that, a lot of that could be the algorithm. They're not seeing it, and yet it creates problems between people that aren't there, and insecurity, right? It creates a lot of insecurity and FOMO and all that kind of shit. It aggravates your FOMO. The open mic is an experiment with the First Amendment. I think people should be able to say whatever they want, but I also think we're in a culture where people are put to sleep and stupefied and dumbed down and fed toxic shit, loaded with toxic chemicals, loaded with brain consciousness deadening chemicals, processed ingredients, gluten, bleached flour, dairy, etc., etc. Etc., etc. You know, I mean, I think that's part of, like, not that there's in my book I jokingly refer to the poetry wars. I think there's always poetry wars happening. In New York, it's a battlefield, and this has been going on for a long time, forever, since time immemorial. And, you know, if you're going to have this many talented people and big fish in one place, like, you know, it's going to be an emotionally violent sport, right? That's what Dana Carvey says. Show business is an emotionally violent sport. You know, other people are going to get the gig. Other people are going to get more likes, more attention, more this, more that. You know, for me, I'm sort of partially coming to terms with what is my life going to be? It's going to be different than I anticipated, or what? Sparrow, God bless Sparrow. Sparrow's awesome. Love Sparrow. Sparrow's been very, very cool. And Omkar is the man. Omkar had a great post full of a lot of wisdom about Alan Arkin. Rest in peace. Alan Arkin just died. The angel Alan Arkin has passed on. Of Glengarry fame, of course. And he's hilarious, and So I Married an Axe Murderer. He's fucking hilarious, and So I Married an Axe Murderer. I don't even know how he does it. He's so good, I don't even know how the fuck he does it. He steals the movie by not... Well, Grodin steals the movie. But Arkin almost out-Grodins Grodin. But he doesn't. You can't out-Grodin to Grodin. Okay? Don't even fucking try. You cannot out-Grodin the fucking Grodin. Do not try. It's impossible. Grodin is the Zen master of the Grouch. But Arkin was an amazing genius as well. And he almost stole the movie from Grodin. I mean, can you believe it? It's almost impossible to even think somebody stealing. I mean, even Martin Short couldn't steal the movie from fucking Grodin. The Beethoven couldn't steal from Grodin. A fucking dog. That's why they put him in that movie. They're like, who can we get with a dog that actually can hold his own and act with a fucking dog? Who can act with a fucking Saint Bernard? Grodin. Get me Grodin. Get the Grodin phone. Give me the Grodin phone. Get me Grodin, goddammit. And so they Grodined up, and the rest is history. Another masterpiece in the fucking can. Beethoven, Beethoven second, Beethoven third, etc., etc. So anyway, Alan Arkin died. So Sparrow came to the open mic, and he was talking about, he's like, 40 is when it really gets hard. Well, because he's mentioned in my book. I mentioned Sparrow in my book, because he told me, he was like, the years 38 to 60 were really hard. Because, I mean, Sparrow is a legend, and he's famous among the cognoscenti. Those that are in the know are down with Sparrow, of course, and know he's a genius, a timeless genius. And he's a hilarious comedian. To be honest, there are a number of poets who are great comedians, and I think we should look at them in that way. If you want to, dissect the science and the art of stand-up comedy, or what could be possible with it, looking at somebody like Sparrow, I think, is a lot of what he does are like jokes. They're short. The effect that Sparrow has in an audience is unbelievable, to be honest. Because he's not famous, right? I mean, not that he's not well known, sort of, but like the audience doesn't love him because he's fucking Allen Ginsberg or something. Like, he just does this to people. He just has this magic. When he gets up there, it just starts to go fucking bibbity bobbity boop, and the fucking, dishes start to dance around and shit. Like, the audience just gets into it, and like, it happens every time. Like, his stuff just is funny and smart, and it works, And maybe that's just because he's good, Crap sack. When is the prime of our lives? A lot of people say 30s, but are they just rationalizing the disappearance of their youth? I mean, a lot of people say it gets better as you get older, right? They love now. I mean, I think there's only now, right? Really, it's all just a fucking illusion. So it's always the prime of our lives. Really, right? I mean, it has to be. There's no other fucking choice. And like, to be honest, before I started doing the thing at KGB, I was going to these open mics with all these people in the East Village who were like in their 60s and 70s and shit. And they're going out every goddamn night to an open mic, to an art opening, to one of their friends' readings. And they're reading at like the fucking Jefferson Market Library. They're reading in art galleries. They're reading at, kind of storied places, West Beth. So it's like they're fucking, in their 70s and shit. And they're still out there. They're probably fucking having sex. Like, I don't know. That was an inspiration to me, right? To see that they were just doing it every fucking day. And their group was just like traveling. It wasn't always the same people, but it was like you'd see Dee Dee Champagne at this or that, this event, that event. You'd see Jennifer Jeannot, you'd see Ron Colm, you'd see Linda Kleinbub, you'd see, Sharon Mesmer, Lydia Cortez. There's little scenes within the scenes. There's variations, depending on how prestige, how much clout they have. We're all clout demons, So, the Poetry Project people kind of travel with their scene. But it's like, that was an inspiration to me. Just like, they go hard, they're out every day, and like, they're putting books out, and they're in their 60s and 70s. So, I'd like to go back and be 18 and start over, knowing what I know now. I would just go hard. You know what I mean? That's all you can do. Like, when I was younger, I definitely went hard, but like, I was also kind of trapped in like the normal kind of suburban world and like all that kind of thinking, and I was just trying to learn how to do things like the way that the fucking military industrial university CIA complex tries to educate you, to get you to play ball with the fucking machine. And so I didn't really, I don't know. It felt like it wasn't the prime of my life or something, right? I felt frustrated, but I just start wherever you are, really, and just go hard at whatever the fuck idea you have, right? Trust yourself. I mean, I think that's what gets you not into trouble, but like if you trust yourself and you do your own ideas, I don't know, maybe people are bound to think they're weird, or maybe I'm just weird, I guess. Talking into fucking YouTube to one person. But thank you for watching. So yeah, the show tomorrow, System Lord, Joseph and the Severe Dudes, great band. He sounds great. And his song, I got a Snickers from a gas station. I'm gonna eat it like a meditation. That's one of Joseph and the Severe Dudes' lyrics. He knows how to live. He's in the prime of his life. There's different stages. There's different advantages to different stages of life, I guess, Maybe it sucks to be old. Who knows? Maybe it's awesome to be 90. Who knows? It's just great to be alive. Frankly, it's great to be alive. We've got Jason T. Cucker, who is a hilarious and really actually a brilliant comedian. Like, what he's doing is really, really smart. And he works on it, and it's good. It's well done. And I feel an affinity. I feel like we were talking the other night about the cable guy, and what did we hit it off with about, what was it? Oh, fuck. There was some actor or something that he mentioned, and I was like, yeah. Joe Flaherty. We were talking about maybe it was Happy Gilmore. I asked if he liked Adam Sandler movies. He wasn't that into the Adam Sandler movies, which is a plus for me. That's a green flag. Not that I don't like Adam Sandler, but, you kind of have to like Adam Sandler. Otherwise, you're like an asshole. And he's okay. He's great. He's great for what he does, but it's kind of like man-child shit in a way that's not good, I don't think. It's not, it's not My Dinner with Andre, okay? I mean, maybe it is. He's in Punch Drunk Love, for Christ's sake, and Uncut Gems. I guess that is My Dinner with Andre. And his comedy albums are like masterpieces. They're like unbelievably good. I mean, his movies are great, but they're also like sophomoric, I guess. Maybe that's what comedy is, but he's like maxed the whole like Happy Madison thing. Anyway, I digress. Jason T. Cucker, yeah. He mentioned Joe Flaherty, who I've never heard anybody mention Joe Flaherty like that they were a fan, ever. I've never heard, like, at least not any of my personal fucking people that I've known or friends or anything. And I was like, and I love Joe Flaherty. He's one of my favorite comedians ever. As a kid, his like kind of crotchety old guy, sarcastic, what? I can relate to that, being from the Midwest, and he's from Pittsburgh. He's kind of got that kind of, like my grandpa's got that sense of humor. What do you got, wax in your ears? You jackass. He's that guy. He's the jackass guy from Happy Gilmore. You will not make this what, you jackass. I mean, he will live forever. I mean, obviously because of SCTV. He's Count Floyd, for Christ's sake. Among other things. I mean, Flaherty, he's Guy Caballero. He's a comedy fucking genius. He started out at Second City in the 60s with Brian Doyle Murray, and I'm sure it was wild. They were probably all on acid. The other funniest man in the world, Brian Doyle Murray, the other master of the kind of grouchy, pissed off, kind of sour, but just hilarious. I don't know, maybe that's a Midwestern thing. It's just, to me, those are the funniest guys in the world. Brian Doyle Murray and Joe Flaherty are like the two funniest guys. Bob Elliott's like that. He's super dry, super deadpan, super kind of cranky. I just find that funny. I don't know why. Grodin, right? Grodin's like that. But those guys are like even more deadpan. There's something about that. Well, Grodin's from Pittsburgh. It's a Midwestern. James Thurber, nearsighted, cranky, grouchy, white, I guess. Maybe that plays into it somehow. You don't have to be white, I guess. You like to be talked down to by jaded Midwesterners. Yeah, I guess that's my fetish. That's what happens. You know, they train you. When you're bred in the Midwest, you're like human cattle. They want you to be super nice, super polite, super agreeable, super hardworking. Don't ask questions. Just work your nuts off. You know, love America, love the Army, our veterans. Don't say anything controversial about the veterans or the Army or the military industrial complex, which Eisenhower warned us against. This is why we can't have nice things. Because they spend all the fucking money on bombs and guns. That's why our country sucks. That's right. 4th of July. This is our America, Salute to America broadcast. I've got 20% battery left, so we'll see how long this lasts. Yeah, Joe Flaherty, a great American. But he had to go to Canada to get famous. Why are these Canadians famous? That's what I want to know. Why are they funnier than us? Why is John Candy and Eugene Levy and Martin Short and Mike Myers and Ryan Reynolds, for Christ's sake? They're all from fucking Canada. What's that? Jim Carrey? Not that Ryan Reynolds is funny. I don't think he's funny. But he's on those Mint Mobile commercials. He's successful. It's hard enough to be successful when you're from the United States. I don't know. Maybe we're just born to die, like Lana Del Rey. We're Americans. We're born to die. One way or another, they're going to grind us out. They're going to work us to death, or we're going to get rich. If we will, kill everybody we know to get famous and be successful. Is it about talent? It's about luck. It's about, I don't know, being born in the right place to the right people, really. That's 90% of success. That's what I see in New York. Having the right parents, being born in the right place. Yeah, so tomorrow, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be comedy. Jason T. Cocker, man, he's a hilarious dude. And he's postmodern. He's avant-garde in an interesting way. We're trying to do that. RTS Neutral going to be on the show. Brilliant. I was listening to RTS Neutral's okay, so here's one thing I did the other day. I put together a playlist of all Easy Paradise open mic artists, open mic superstars, open mic maniacs, and it is good as hell, actually, if I may say so myself. I mean, I am not really on it very much. I have, 3 Holy Smoke songs are on it, but like the Cannonball Statman songs are dope as fuck. The RTS Neutral songs are amazing. It's cool to see people perform in real life, and that's what's human about it, right? Seeing somebody with an acoustic guitar get up and just sort of go, off the cuff, not much preparation, no sweetening. I don't have any EQ. I have EQ, but I don't have compressors. I don't have that many effects. I might put reverb on or something, but it's not a whole lot of processing. And it sounds beautiful, but I really didn't know, what people sounded like on their recordings or as a band or anything. And so I was really blown away and impressed by a lot of these fucking recordings, to be honest. They sound phenomenal. They sound very contemporary, and they're well done. They're well produced, they're well engineered, they're well mastered. They sound like real recordings. And a lot of them have got fucking listens. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but a lot of the people who come to the open mic have got thousands of plays on fucking Spotify, which I did not. Not that I wouldn't expect that, but I didn't. They've got good shit out there. And so I put this playlist together, and it's like, I was listening to it all the other day. This is part of, what I hope is changing about our society is there will be a non-hierarchical sort of artistic spectrum where just like everyone's art is appreciated, not just, and I think Spotify is actually really good about that. You know, I'm not exactly sure what the exact things you have to do to get on Spotify are, but it doesn't seem, it's not that hard. I know that. It probably costs a little bit of money, but like you can get on Spotify, which is where people listen to music. So like, you know, people should drop RTS Neutral and Cannonball and Free Paintings music is incredible. Their recordings are excellent. They're great songs, to be honest. They're really, these people are all good songwriters. Cheska music, Mad Maeve's music is dope. Charlotte Sessions got dope music. Daphne Juliet's got dope music. It's all really well done. It's well produced. You know, so it was really kind of magical. These, you know, I've been getting to know these artists in a way without even really, you know, not that I, you know, without even really trying, just because I'm there every week and they're there every week. So I see everything, and like, you get familiar with the songs, you get familiar with what they do and who they are. And so like to hear the actual recordings was like kind of special, you know, to see the songs sort of, you know, realized in a different way. And it also just kind of speaks to the nature of live performance versus what's digital and what's online. And I do think both are important. We do have sort of like an android kind of society right now where we're sort of half human, half cyborg. And like, that's okay. That we should work both, right? We should do live streams and try to do outreach for people here. We should also try to get as big an audience as we can online. But it's also cool to do shows in person and feel what it's like to feel nervous. I mean, even people who have thousands of followers, thousands of plays on the internet, they come to the open mic and they get nervous, and they, you know, for them, it's a special experience too, to play in front of that many people and to share. You know, it's meant to be a ritual, you know, where everybody kind of you know, trades and shares their own piece and their own 2 cents and their own kind of offering, you know, and it's kind of equalized and non-hierarchical. You know, our society is so hierarchical and so ego, and they have to make these people into products, and they have to make people into big names. And like, that's not to say that certain people don't have incredible talent, but it's also a business. And it is also like kind of uninteresting to hear the same fucking, you know, 1,000 famous artists over and over again, no matter how great they are. You know, it's like it is great to hear the classics and the kind of big names and stuff, but like, it's also really special. And I think people do and should place, you know, an import on listening to the local artists, listening to their friends, listening to local culture, reading people that aren't famous, people that don't have a lot of followers. Drake, okay, so apparently Drake's poetry book is terrible. Champagne Poetry, I mean, it's not a great title. I looked at it, somebody said it was a Rupi somebody said it's a Rupi Kaur ripoff. Which, I mean, if you're going to rip somebody off, apparently people ghostwrite Drake's lyrics. I didn't know that. He doesn't even write his own shit. Which, I don't know, man. I like Lil Wayne. I've been listening to Lil Wayne mixtapes recently. And Lil Wayne is a fucking genius and a god. I mean, you want to talk about fucking comedy. Lil Wayne will make you laugh more than any of those motherfuckers. Comedy and hip-hop are kind of similar in ways. The getting it right in that little space with that little kind of flip. There's a lot of wordplay and unexpected kind of turns. And you got to be tight. You know, everything's got to be tight. Everything's got to be, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like, that's what's great about YouTube, right? You can get on YouTube, post anything, post everything, you know, like check out. I wish the algorithm was more friendly to that. It seems like maybe it's getting better, you know. That's sort of what TikTok is good at, is making everybody famous, you know. Everybody's a porn star. I think in the future everybody's going to be a porn star, or we already are. That's one of my discoveries, epiphanies today. Everybody's filming themselves have sex. I mean, everybody's on fucking OnlyFans and shit. Although I haven't heard people talking about that as much recently. Okay, I've got 10% battery left. So I probably got, okay, I'm going to try to do 2 hours. Thank you for watching. We've also got Bryce Leong on the show tomorrow, who really did a cool thing. A couple of people this week were like reading poetry and then they played a song on piano. I like that. I saw this amazing noise performance last night in Tompkins Square Park. I had just kind of gone there to like smoke and kind of sit. And there was this, and it was curated by Issue Project Room, weirdly enough. And I do think, and not to put too fine a point on it, but I do think there is a correlation, maybe I'm not the first person to make this observation, between like trance and like electronic music and kind of music of the future and like kind of cutting edge. Both of the musicians last night were trans at the Tompkins Square Park thing, and it was like ambient. It was like, the second act was amazing. Not that that's important, not to highlight that or anything, but like I've been thinking about, I saw this book in the store the other day, Lo-Fi Music and like the End of Capitalism, Escaping Late Capitalism. So I've been thinking about what that means and like how we use music to transport ourselves and sort of launch ourselves into space, That's what I do. That's a lot of times people refer to our gigs or something as like space. Wavetable was like space. And, somebody the other day said it was like being shot out of a cannon. It's like, this image of like being taken higher, elevating. My dad, this was something I was thinking about the other day. My dad, when I was a kid, he's a musician. He said a song is like a magic carpet. It's like a magic carpet ride. You get on the, like Steppenwolf. Not like Steppenwolf, but it's like a magic carpet, a song, Music. It's like you get on the magic carpet, it takes you up, it flies you around, you go on a journey, you see this, you see that, a whole new world. And then, it puts you back on the ground at the end, and that's the song. I think that's kind of a nice way to look at it. It's like a dervish, it's like an elevation, it's like a rising above. At least that's what I try to use it for, or that's what it does for me when I smoke tons of weed and dab and all of that. Get the vibrations right. But using it as a vehicle, and so this thing in Tompkins Square Park was super interesting because this artist had all these radios, like all these boom boxes and like old radios, fucking transistor radios and shit, and they all had like packs, and he had like the pack, his like wireless like fucking lav mic pack and shit, and he had like the lav mic pack and like a bracelet, and he had like a headset, or they had like a headset microphone, and they had this bucket. They had this fucking bucket that was like, had some kind of lights in it, and it was painted, and it made some kind of crazy noise like the ocean, but also like coins, but it was like digital. And so they were like playing this bucket, and then, like they were tuning the radios to different shit. So like you heard sports talk radio, then you heard like whatever's on the radio, classic rock and shit. And then, they brought a fucking flute out. They were playing the flute. And so the radios were like all around the audience, and they were kind of walking among the audience. So it was like a surround, it was kind of like an environmental kind of piece, right? It seemed like a John Cage thing, or kind of influenced by that type of thinking, right? And so I related to it. It felt like, it sounded a lot like Wavetable and System Lord, and it felt a lot like kind of what we were doing to try to create a more immersive experience, to try to create something that, I don't know, was more like a sound bath, right? Or some kind of healing vibration wavelength. I mean, this is something I've been thinking about recently, is just how my own energy might be changing, and how the ways of performing before maybe are not as appropriate now. Like when during Trump, it was like a panic. Everything was a panic. So it felt important to tear through the sound bath with these kind of like, panic kind of epiphanies of just screaming whatever political truth or political ideas or that I could even think of, and just getting that out as much as possible and trying to wake people up and screaming, frankly. Screaming. I mean, goddamn, Donald Trump was the president. It felt appropriate to scream and try to, wake people up, like Rage Against the Machine or something, right? Now it's like things have kind of chilled out. People don't want that energy. People don't want screaming, violent hostility, anger, rage. They want, I don't know. Rage is like my battery. Calm as we stumble down the mountain. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I think to some degree we sort of act like these problems have gone away or something, but it's like the Supreme Court just struck down the affirmative action thing, right? They outlawed Roe versus Wade. Like, the Supreme Court is like radical. They're radical fucking Nazis, basically. They're fascist conservative Christians. They're Christian conservative Nazis. And they're 6-3ing this shit. It's not even like close. It's like affirmative action struck down 6-3. They struck down the student loan forgiveness thing today, right? June. They're always busy in June. It was a year ago that they struck down the Roe versus Wade thing. So it's like, to some degree, right, it does feel, apathetic, or you can't look the other way, right? But people also just want to chill after the insanity of the Trump thing, and the pandemic and all of that. People just want to. Plus, it's like, once again, not to put too fine a point on things, but it's like there's more female energy in the culture, just kind of in general. Women are kind of like the leading artists, music, what have you. And so it's like, I don't know, not that there's not rage there or anything, but like, it's also just like, I don't know, people want to chill, people want to relax, people want something that's like, I don't know, not to gender anything, but like, to some degree, women, I think, have like a more complex understanding of like beauty or something, and like they appreciate things that are like, I don't know. Yeah. And I think this is all a good thing. This is not a complaint or a criticism or anything. I'm not, and I don't want to generalize. That's why I'm like trying to choose my words carefully, because I don't want to generalize about anything, or like, it's not necessarily a feminine property or anything like that, but I don't know. Like, in the noise music that, like last night, it was very like relaxing. It wasn't like this aggravated, like, I'm going to play a fucking chainsaw, or I'm like scream at everybody, or like, make it some rage, like about me, like where I'm just like, I think people turn away from that. Maybe. I don't know. Not that I'm curious about fashion, and does that have an influence on how people react to things? The sort of the journey through time that we all have, and the sort of astrology of that almost. Like, what are the 2020s about? What were the 2010s about? What were the 2000s about? And like sort of like we agree as a population that like this is what's new, this is what's in, this is what's current, this captures the vibe. And I think, all of that is related to like it's pinging off what happens around us, like, it's doom gen, right? There's smoke in the air, but it's also where does that come from? Why is it that certain things come in fashion, and what's trending this season? And so it's like, but I'm always curious, and like New York is like an antenna for that kind of stuff. The streets of New York are like constantly sensitizing you But I don't know, maybe not. Maybe at this point New York is lame. It's all just these fucking rich people, as you can see, and like, it's not like the taste makers are out here trying wild shit. I see a bunch of like preppies and fucking, maybe in Brooklyn, in Ridgewood, or, but, well, for my own purposes, it's like, I feel like I push people away when I'm loud. It's something I'm trying to learn on stage to get control of. It's something that people have always criticized me for. Even, that was, the first review I ever got, that was the criticism, was like, my voice was like whiny and loud. And, people have always told me I'm bad with the microphone. I always put the microphone directly on my fucking mouth, and you're supposed to like use the microphone like, like with dynamics and shit. And like, I hear that, I understand that, but like honestly, when I'm on stage, the only time it sounds right is when I put my fucking mouth right on it. It feels like it fills up the space in a way that is like what I'm trying to do. I don't know. Like, everything I do is kind of a noise show in that regard. It has been for a few years. I think it's just part of the fact that because I've played music, to some degree, I think music is a part of everything. I think it's a denial to think that it's not. Like, stand-up comedians don't necessarily perform when there's music on, but like, it is musical. And like, I think I saw, who did I see? I've been seeing more comedians recently. I think one of the comedians at the open mic yesterday had like a fucking, yeah, right. One of the comedians last night had like a backing track, that they played like underneath, and it worked. It was kind of cool. People are always doing that at the, right. Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, I'm so energetically driven, right? And I feel like I need to like I come from a kind of rock and roll, like rhythm country where it's like, everything is this propulsive kind of like da 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 that just never stops. It's in everything. And so like, I can't let that go in a way. Like even when I'm reading poetry and stuff, it's like, that's kind of like the fucking inner energy, It's something that I think a lot about now, is like our own inner energy. It's like this is my inner energy. Like, I suppose I could relax on stage and do nothing, but I would feel like I was boring the audience. That's like my biggest fear. My biggest fear is that the audience is going to get bored. And yet they will like last night, they'll sit there and listen for an hour to just like a hum. They want that. If you literally just did less, if you do something that's like therapeutic and like just like kind of a tonal, like those Eno kind of like music for airport albums are very spare. I guess they take off from Satie in that way. Satie does have a lot of space in it. It's got a lot of air in it. I guess to some degree they're just like imitating air. This was something Philip said the other day that I've been thinking about, the great Wolfman librarian. He said, Allen Ginsberg put space in his lines because the space was eternity. He put space in between the words because you need to have eternity in the line. And so you put that space there. And so I think in music it's the same thing, in everything. And on all art, it's like you need space. You can't just put, I want to put wall-to-wall text. That's what my live streams are. They're wall-to-wall verbiage and language. In my poetry, Central Park, my new book, drops Monday. Check out that beautiful $1 million cover there. Joe Franklin, Central Park, get the book. Matt Proctor, this he's going to be very big. He's sensational. This is really going to be, people are just breaking the door down. I'm the Joe Franklin of the 21st century. Joe Franklin had every motherfucker on his show. It wasn't about judging people. It wasn't about, oh God, we got to get, he wasn't too cool for anybody, man. Joe Franklin was a G. He was down with he would have loved fucking, Easy Paradise. Joe Franklin, we're going to get you on Easy Paradise in Heaven. Where can we get it? Let the people know. You know, you're going to have to come to open mic, I guess, or one of my gigs. I'm going to be stocking them illegally in select New York City bookstores. I'm going to be reverse shoplifting. I do this thing, reverse shoplifting, where I leave my books in bookstores for free. So if you ever find one of my books in a bookstore, I left it there, it's free. Just take it. It's not, it has got no fucking barcode, none of that bullshit, okay? None of that CIA human trafficking bullshit, okay? This is nudity, baby. This is naked. This is like a fucking tomato. There's no GMOs in this, man. There's no Monsanto in this shit, okay? This is real naked literature. This is like a big bruised pear. And, yeah, so it's going to be, yeah, thank you, crap sack. Thank you. Thank you for watching. So yeah, this is going to be $5. Well, this one might be 10. I might charge more. It's inflation. Times are tough all over. The price of my books has increased by 200%. So yeah, get that. So it's balls to the wall, but space is infinity. So with music, you know, I think it's a millennial thing. I think millennials are so, we're just fried. We're just goddamn fried. You know, we want euphoria. We want stillness is what we want. You know, the world is so, all of my work is really about short attention span and brevity and clipping everything, and maybe I did it wrong. I think people want stillness. People want something that's centered. You know, everything in our world is so furious and so flickering, and, you know, it's a flurry all around us. Short attention, music video, does that even apply? I feel like all of the references, everything I understand is suddenly outdated. You know, I want to be new. I feel like I'm old. I feel like everything I copied is old. Can I even make anything new? I don't know. Live streaming feels new. Brian Eno for president, god damn it. I mean, yeah, let's get him citizenship. I don't think he'd want to be the president. He would be, have you read A Year for Swollen Appendices? It's Eno's diary. And it's like, it's half diary, and then it's half like these essays that are really just kind of like there's kind of like think pieces. Oh, it's amazing. I refer to it. It's like